Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Nadia, I'm 42 years old, and today I'm going to share with you the most incredible, heartbreaking, and ultimately life-changing story of my life. Before we dive in, I need to ask you for a huge favor. If you enjoy these real-life stories, please hit that subscribe button right now. Your support means the world to me, and it helps me continue sharing these deeply personal experiences with all of you. Also, smash that like button, share this video with someone who needs to hear it, and don't forget to leave a comment. And here's something special I'd love to know. Write in the comments below where you're watching from. Whether you're in New York, London, Tokyo, Mumbai, or a small town I've never heard of, I want to say hello to each and every one of you. You are my community, my family here on YouTube, and knowing where you're from makes this feel so much more personal and connected. Now, let me tell you about the day that changed everything. The day I won $47 million in the lottery, and decided not to tell a single soul. You might be thinking, that's crazy. Why wouldn't you tell anyone? Well, stick with me, because by the end of this story, you'll understand exactly why I made that decision. And more importantly, you'll learn what that decision revealed about the people I loved most in the world. This is a story about money, yes. But it's really a story about family, loyalty, character, and discovering who truly loves you for who you are, not what you have. It's about a test I never wanted to conduct, but one that showed me the truth about every single person in my life. So grab a cup of coffee, get comfortable, because this is going to be a long one. And I promise you, every minute of it is worth your time. Let me take you back to March 15th, 2023. It was a Tuesday, just an ordinary, unremarkable Tuesday. I was working my usual shift as a nurse at St. Mary's Hospital in Chicago. I'd been a registered nurse for 18 years, working mostly night shifts in the emergency department. The pay wasn't great. I made about $68,000 a year, which in Chicago, with rent, utilities, and the general cost of living, meant I was always just barely getting by. I had a small one-bedroom apartment in a decent but not fancy neighborhood. My car was a 2011 Honda Civic with 140,000 miles on it. I shopped at discount grocery stores and bought my clothes mostly from Target and thrift shops. But I didn't complain. I loved my job. There's something profoundly meaningful about being there for people during their worst moments, about being the calm voice in the chaos, about sometimes literally holding someone's hand as they take their last breath or their first breath after a traumatic injury. My life was simple. I had routines. Every Tuesday on my way home from my shift, I'd stop at the same 7-Eleven on the corner of Madison and Wells. I'd buy a large black coffee, a breakfast sandwich, and this was my one vice, a lottery ticket. Just one. Always a Mega Millions ticket with random numbers. I'd been doing this for probably 10 years. I never expected to win. It was just something I did. A tiny spark of possibility in an otherwise predictable life. My little ritual that said, maybe today everything changes. That Tuesday morning, I was exhausted. We'd had a particularly brutal night in the ER, 3 car accident victims, 2 overdoses, and a little boy with a severe asthma attack. One of the overdose patients didn't make it, and even after all these years, every loss still weighs on me. I walked into that 7-Eleven in a daze. The clerk, a nice guy named Mohammed who I'd been seeing almost every week for years, greeted me with his usual warm smile. "The usual, Nadia?" he asked. "The usual," I confirmed, barely able to keep my eyes open. He rang me up $8.50 total. I paid with a 10, told him to keep the change, grabbed my items, and headed home. I didn't even look at the lottery ticket. I just stuffed it in my purse along with the receipt. When I got home, I ate my sandwich, drank half the coffee, and collapsed into bed. I slept for almost 9 hours straight. When I woke up that evening, I did what I always did: checked my phone, scrolled through social media, made myself some dinner. It wasn't until around 10 p.m. that I remembered the lottery ticket. The drawing had been that night at 11 p.m. I almost didn't check it. I was comfortable on my couch, watching a rerun of Friends, and I didn't want to get up. But something made me do it. Maybe fate, maybe just boredom. I pulled up the Mega Millions website on my phone and looked at the winning numbers. 7 to 14, 23 to 36, 47 Mega Ball, 15. I fished the crumpled ticket out of my purse and looked at my numbers. 7 to 14, 23 to 36, 47 Mega Ball, 15. I stared at the numbers. Then at the screen. Then back at the ticket. They matched. Every single one. My first thought wasn't joy or excitement. It was confusion. I must have read it wrong. I checked again. And again. And again. I checked the date on the ticket. March 15th, 2023. Today's date. I checked the website again to make sure it was the right drawing. I checked my numbers one more time. They still matched. I had won the lottery. The jackpot. Which, according to the website, was $47 million. $47 million. I sat there on my couch, ticket in one hand, phone in the other, and I didn't feel anything. Not happiness, not excitement, not even disbelief anymore. Just numbness. Complete and total numbness. I think my brain simply couldn't process it. The number was too big. The change too enormous. It was like trying to imagine infinity, your mind just stops working. I don't know how long I sat there. Maybe 10 minutes, maybe an hour. Time became meaningless. Then, slowly, emotions started to creep in. But they weren't the emotions I expected. The first real emotion I felt was fear. Fear that I'd lose the ticket. Fear that I'd somehow mess this up. Fear that this would change my life in ways I couldn't control. Fear that people would treat me differently. Fear that I'd become a target. The second emotion was a weird kind of sadness. Because I knew, in that moment, that my simple, predictable life was over. I'd never be able to go back to just being Nadia the nurse who bought lottery tickets at 7-Eleven. And the third emotion, this one took me by surprise, was suspicion. I immediately started thinking about my family. My mother, my sister, my brother, my aunts and uncles and cousins. And I thought about my friends. And my coworkers. How would they react if they knew? Would they be happy for me? Would they want a piece of it? Would they suddenly see me as a bank account instead of a person? I'd seen enough stories on the news about lottery winners whose lives fell apart. Relatives coming out of the woodwork demanding money. Friends feeling entitled to share the wealth. People being sued, stolen from, even killed. And I thought about my own family. I loved them. But I also knew them. I knew their flaws, their weaknesses, their struggles. My mother had always been difficult with money. She'd declared bankruptcy twice. She'd borrowed from me more times than I could count and rarely paid me back. My sister Jennifer was married to a guy, Mark, who I'd never liked. He was always involved in some get-rich-quick scheme, always asking to borrow money, always finding a way to make other people's problems about him. My brother David meant well, but he had no financial discipline. He made good money as a software engineer but spent it as fast as he made it: fancy cars, expensive vacations, the latest gadgets. And that's just my immediate family. I had cousins who only called when they needed something. Friends who I suspected might stick around more for what I could do for them than for who I was. In that moment, sitting on my couch with that winning ticket, I made a decision. I wasn't going to tell anyone. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But more than that, I was going to do something that felt almost cruel, but also necessary. I was going to test them. I was going to pretend I was in desperate need of help, and I was going to see who would actually be there for me when I had nothing to offer in return. The next few days were surreal. I went to work, came home, lived my normal life, all while carrying a secret worth $47 million in my purse. I did my research. I learned that in Illinois, you can claim lottery prizes anonymously if you set up a trust. I found a lawyer who specialized in lottery winners. Yes, that's apparently a specialty. Her name was Patricia Kleinman, and she came highly recommended. I met with Patricia in her downtown Chicago office. She was probably in her late 50s, impeccably dressed in a gray suit, with sharp eyes that suggested she didn't miss much. "Congratulations," she said after I showed her the ticket. "Do you have it in a safe place?" "It's in a safety deposit box at my bank," I lied. It was actually in a Ziploc bag taped to the underside of my bathroom sink. I didn't trust safety deposit boxes. What if there was a fire? What if the bank went under? I know it sounds paranoid, but that's what $47 million does to your brain. Good. Now, let's talk about how we're going to handle this. Patricia explained the process. She'd set up a trust, the NM Family Trust, which would claim the prize. My name would never be public. The media would know someone in Illinois won, but they'd never know it was me. What about taxes? I asked. Federal taxes will take about 37%, and Illinois will take another 4.95%. After taxes, you're looking at about $27 million. $27 million. Still an incomprehensible amount of money. And I strongly recommend, Patricia continued, that you don't tell anyone for at least 6 months. Get your affairs in order, work with a financial advisor, set up your investments properly. Make a plan before you make any major life changes. I'm not planning to tell anyone at all, I said. At least not for a while. Patricia nodded approvingly. Smart. You'd be surprised how many winners tell everyone immediately and regret it within weeks. Money changes relationships. It's better to be cautious. Over the next 2 weeks, Patricia handled everything. She set up the trust, claimed the prize, dealt with the lottery commission. The money, all $27 million of it, was deposited into accounts she'd set up for me, spread across several banks for FDIC insurance purposes. I met with a financial advisor Patricia recommended, a woman named Sarah Chin who specialized in sudden wealth management, another specialty I didn't know existed. Sarah helped me create a financial plan. $10 million would go into conservative investments, index funds, bonds, real estate investment trusts. This would be my never touch this money, generating passive income for the rest of my life. $10 million would be for more active investments and philanthropy. I could use this to start businesses, make larger charitable donations, invest in real estate. $7 million would be more liquid, high-yield savings, CDs, easily accessible funds for emergencies or opportunities. With even conservative returns, I'd be earning roughly $800,000 a year in passive income. Without doing anything. Without working. Forever. It was insane. But here's the thing, my life didn't change at all. I still went to work every night. I still lived in my small apartment. I still drove my old Honda Civic. I still bought my groceries at the discount store. The only difference was that now, when I looked at price tags, I didn't care. I could have bought anything in the store. Anything in 100 stores and not noticed the money leaving my account. But I didn't, because I was preparing for my test. It started small. About 3 weeks after winning, I began laying the groundwork for my test. I called my mother on a Sunday afternoon. She lived about an hour outside Chicago in a small town called Riverside. She'd been retired for 5 years and lived on Social Security and a small pension from her years working as a secretary. "Hi Mom," I said when she answered. "Nadia. How are you, sweetheart?" I'm okay. Just tired. Work has been crazy." "You work too hard, honey. Those night shifts are killing you." "I know. Actually, that's kind of why I'm calling. I think I might need to cut back my hours." This was the first lie. My first step into this elaborate deception. Cut back? Can you afford that? "Not really," I said, injecting just the right amount of stress into my voice. "But I'm having some health issues. The doctor thinks it might be stress-related. High blood pressure, some heart palpitations. Nothing serious yet, but he's concerned." This was all fabricated. I was perfectly healthy. "Oh honey, that's terrible. What are you going to do?" "I don't know yet. I'm figuring it out. I might need to find a different job, something with better hours. But that would probably mean a pay cut." "Well, you have to do what's best for your health," my mother said, though I detected a note of concern in her voice that wasn't entirely about my well-being. My mother had a way of making every conversation about how things affected her. Over the next few weeks, I had similar conversations with other family members and friends. I planted seeds everywhere. To my sister Jennifer, "My car's been making this weird noise. The mechanic says it might need a new transmission. That could be $3,000 or more. I don't have that kind of money saved." To my brother David, "I'm thinking about moving out of my apartment. The rent just went up again, and I can barely afford it. I might need to find a roommate situation or move to a cheaper neighborhood." To my best friend Rachel, "I'm so stressed about money lately. I have some credit card debt that I can't seem to pay down, and now I'm having these health issues. I feel like I'm drowning." None of it was true. But I needed them to believe I was struggling, badly struggling. The responses were interesting. My mother's immediate reaction was worry, but worry tinged with her own financial anxiety. "Well, I wish I could help, but you know my situation. I'm barely making it myself." My sister Jennifer was sympathetic but distant. "That's rough, Nad. Let me know if there's anything I can do." But she didn't offer anything concrete. David was more direct. "Can't you just work some overtime? Pick up extra shifts?" Rachel was the most supportive. "We'll figure something out. Maybe I can lend you a few hundred until you get back on your feet." I told Rachel no, that I couldn't borrow from friends. But I appreciated the offer. That was a point in Rachel's favor. For 2 months, I continued this performance. I complained about money, about stress, about health issues. I painted a picture of someone whose life was falling apart financially. And I watched. I observed how people reacted, who offered help and who didn't, who seemed genuinely concerned and who seemed uncomfortable and eager to change the subject. My mother called less frequently. When we did talk, she'd ask about my situation but always seemed relieved when I said I was managing. Jennifer and Mark actually asked me to lend them money during this period, $2,000 to help with some car repairs. The irony wasn't lost on me, but I told them I simply didn't have it. Mark seemed annoyed, as if I was being intentionally difficult. David suggested I get a roommate to save money, which would have been good advice if I actually needed it. But when I casually mentioned that I'd been having panic attacks about money and couldn't sleep, he just said, "Everyone's stressed about money, Nadia. You're not special." That stung. Even knowing it was all a test, that my struggles weren't real, his casual dismissal hurt. But I pressed on. Because the real test was still coming. In late June, about 3 months after winning the lottery, I decided it was time to escalate my test. I needed to create a crisis, something serious enough that anyone who truly cared about me would feel compelled to help. I crafted the scenario carefully. I needed something believable, something that couldn't be easily solved, something that would require sacrifice from those who wanted to help. On a warm Tuesday evening, I called an emergency family meeting. I reached out to my mother, Jennifer, and David separately and asked them all to come to my apartment that Saturday afternoon. I told them it was urgent. They all agreed, though David complained that Saturday was his golf day. That Saturday, I prepared my apartment for the performance of my life. I made sure it looked even more rundown than usual. I left bills scattered on the coffee table, fake past due notices I'd created. I had my cheapest, most threadbare clothes in visible places. I even put a few empty ramen noodle containers in the trash to suggest I wasn't eating well. When they arrived, my mother at 2 p.m., Jennifer and Mark at 2:15, and David at 2:30, I could see the discomfort on their faces as they took in my apartment. "Thanks for coming," I said, my voice intentionally shaky. "I know this is last minute, but I need to talk to you all about something serious." We sat in my small living room, me on the couch, my mother in the armchair, Jennifer and Mark on dining chairs they'd brought in, and David standing by the window, arms crossed. "What's going on, Nadia?" my mother asked, concern and anxiety mixing in her voice. I took a deep breath, preparing for the lies that would tell me the truth. "I've been let go from the hospital," I said. The room went silent. "What?" Jennifer said. "Why? Budget cuts. They're laying off nursing staff and I was one of them. 2 weeks notice. My last day is July 14th. This was completely fabricated. I was not losing my job. In fact, I was planning to quit soon, but on my own terms. "That's terrible," my mother said. "But you're a good nurse. You'll find another job." "It's not that simple," I continued. "The job market is tight right now. And with my health issues, the stress-related problems I mentioned, I don't know if I can handle another ER position. But those are the highest-paying nursing jobs. Anything else would be a significant pay cut." "How significant?" David asked, his analytical mind going straight to numbers. "I'd probably be looking at $45,000, maybe $50,000 a year. That's $18,000 to $23,000 less than I make now. I can't afford my apartment on that. I can barely afford it now. Can't you find a roommate?" David suggested, the same advice he'd given before. "I've been trying. But it's not just that. I have medical bills. From all the tests they've been running. My insurance didn't cover everything. I owe about $8,000. Another lie. I owed nothing. But $8,000 was significant enough to be serious but not so large that it seemed hopeless. And my car finally died. Completely. The transmission went, and the mechanic said it would cost more to fix than the car is worth. I need a new car to get to job interviews, to get to a new job when I find one. "How much do you need?" Mark asked, leaning forward. He was always interested when money was the topic. "For the car?" "At least $5,000 for a reliable used car. Plus the medical bills, that's $13,000. And I need to cover rent and expenses while I'm job hunting. I have about $1,200 in savings. That'll last me maybe 6 weeks if I'm incredibly careful." I let this information sink in. I watched their faces. My mother looked stricken but helpless. Jennifer looked uncomfortable. Mark looked calculating, like he was doing math in his head. David looked impatient. "So what are you asking?" David finally said. This was the moment. The actual test. "I'm asking if anyone can help me. I hate to do this. I've never asked for money from family before. But I'm desperate. I need about $15,000 to get through this, to cover the car, the medical bills, and living expenses while I find a new job. I'll pay it back, I promise. As soon as I'm working again. The silence that followed was deafening. My mother spoke first. Honey, I wish I could help, but you know I don't have that kind of money. I'm living on fixed income myself. What about your savings? I asked gently. I know you had some money set aside. My mother's face flushed. That money is for emergencies. For me. I can't just give away my safety net. What if something happens to me? Her answer stung, even though I didn't actually need the money. This was her daughter facing a genuine crisis, as far as she knew, and her first thought was protecting her own interests. I understand, I said quietly. Jennifer and Mark exchanged a look. Jennifer spoke, Nadia, we're in a tight spot ourselves. Mark's business has been slow, and we have our own bills. We just bought new furniture for the living room, Mark added, as if that explained everything. Put it all on credit. And we're planning a trip to Cancun in August. So they had money for furniture and vacations, but not to help me in a crisis. Right, I said, keeping my voice neutral. David sighed heavily. Nadia, I hate to say this, but have you thought about personal responsibility here? You should have had better savings. You should have had an emergency fund. $1,200 in savings at your age? That's irresponsible. I felt a flash of genuine anger. I've been living paycheck to paycheck for years, David. Not everyone has your salary. I'm just saying, maybe this is a lesson. Maybe you need to learn better financial management. I can recommend some books. I don't need book recommendations, I snapped. I need help. Actual, concrete help. David's face hardened. Look, I might be able to lend you $1,000. Maybe. But I'm not handing over $15,000. That's a lot of money, and honestly, based on your financial track record, I'm not confident you'd pay it back. There it was. His true feelings. I was a bad investment. I'll pay back every penny, I said. So you say. But you've never been good with money. How do I know this won't just be throwing money into a black hole? I turned to Jennifer. What about you? Even a few thousand would help. Jennifer looked at Mark, who shook his head slightly. We can maybe do $500, she said. But that's really all we can spare. $500. Out of the $15,000 I needed. From my own sister. My mother wrung her hands. I can probably manage $200. That's all I can do, sweetie. I'm sorry. I looked around the room at my family, the people who were supposed to love me unconditionally, who were supposed to be there in times of crisis. Total offered, $1,700. Out of $15,000. And most of that was grudgingly given, with conditions and judgments attached. What about asking friends? David suggested. Coworkers? Surely you have other people who could help. I'm asking my family, I said, hearing the edge in my voice. I thought family was supposed to be there for each other. We are here, my mother said defensively. We're giving what we can. Are you? I asked. Are you really? Or are you giving what's convenient? What won't affect your lifestyle? That's not fair, Jennifer said. We all have our own financial obligations. And I'm your sister facing homelessness and medical debt. You're being dramatic, Mark said dismissively. You'll figure it out. You always do. I stood up. I think you all should leave. Nadia, my mother started. No. Just, go. Thank you for coming. And thank you for showing me exactly where I stand in your lives. They filed out, uncomfortable and defensive. Only my mother tried to hug me, but I stepped back. She left looking hurt and confused. When they were gone, I sat on my couch and cried. Real tears, not fake ones. Because even though the crisis was fabricated, their reactions were genuine. And they hurt. They hurt because I had my answer. In my moment of greatest need, or what they believed was my greatest need, my family had failed me. Not because they couldn't help, but because they chose not to. After the disaster with my family, I decided to extend my test to my friends and coworkers. I needed to know if the pattern would repeat or if there were people in my life who would actually step up when it mattered. I had 3 close friends. Rachel, whom I mentioned earlier. We'd been friends since nursing school, almost 20 years. She was married, had 2 kids, and worked as a school nurse. Tom, a nurse I'd worked with for years at St. Mary's. He was gay, single, and lived with his partner James. He was one of the funniest people I knew and had gotten me through many tough shifts with his humor. And Lydia, a friend from my book club. She was wealthy, her husband was a successful real estate developer. They lived in a big house in the suburbs and seemed to have everything. I approached each of them separately over the course of a week. Rachel first. We met for coffee at our usual spot, a little cafe near the hospital. "So I have some bad news," I said after we'd ordered. I told her the same story: the job loss, the medical bills, the car trouble, the need for $15,000. Rachel's face fell. "Oh my God, Nadia. I had no idea things were that bad. I've been trying to hold it together. But I don't know what else to do." Rachel was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "James and I have about $10,000 in our emergency fund. Our kids' activities are expensive, and we're trying to save for their college. But you know what? Family, and your family to me, comes first. I can get you $5,000 by the end of the week. It's not the full amount, but it's something." I stared at her, genuinely shocked. $5,000. That was a quarter of her emergency fund. For me. "Rachel, I can't take your kids' college money." "You're not taking it. I'm giving it. And you'll pay me back when you can. No rush, no interest." That's what friends do. I had to fight to keep from confessing everything right then. Instead, I just hugged her and said, "Thank you. You have no idea what this means to me." "I do, actually. I've been where you are. When James lost his job 3 years ago, we were in bad shape. You remember lending us $500? And you refused to let us pay you back, said it was a gift. Well, now it's my turn." I did remember that. It had been $500, and to me at the time, it was a significant amount. But I'd given it because they needed it. I'd forgotten I'd even told them not to pay me back. Next was Tom. We met after one of our shifts, at a 24-hour diner where we often went to decompress. I told him the story. Tom listened, his usual jovial expression becoming serious. When I finished, he was quiet for a long time. "Here's what I can do," he finally said. "James and I don't have a lot of savings. We're still paying off debt from when James was in grad school. But I have a credit card with a $5,000 limit that's currently at zero. I can advance you $3,000 on it. It'll cost me an interest, but screw it. You need help. Tom, I can't let you take on debt for me. You're not letting me do anything. I'm choosing to do it. You've covered my shifts more times than I can count when I needed time off. You listened to me cry for hours when my dad died. You're one of my best friends, and friends show up when it matters. So I'm showing up. $3,000. On a credit card. Meaning he'd be paying interest on money he lent me. I added Rachel and Tom's offers to my mental tally, $8,000. More than half what I needed, from friends who had less than my family. Finally, Lydia. She invited me to her beautiful home in Winnetka, where we sat on her terrace overlooking an impeccable garden. I told her the story. Lydia sipped her wine and nodded sympathetically. "That's terrible, Nadia. You must be so stressed." "I am," I said. "I've asked everyone I can think of. I'm trying to piece together enough to get through this." "Have you thought about a personal loan? The interest rates aren't that bad if you have decent credit." "My credit is good, but I don't think I'll qualify for a large enough loan given my employment situation." Lydia swirled her wine. "Well, I'll tell you what. Richard and I can probably help you out with $500. I'll have to check with him, of course. We have our own expenses, you know. The house, the kids' private school, our charitable commitments. $500. From a woman who probably spent more than that on a single handbag. That would be helpful," I managed to say. "And you know, Nadia, maybe this is an opportunity. Maybe you could look into a different career path. Nursing is so stressful. Have you thought about real estate? Or maybe going back to school?" She was giving me life advice. Career counseling. When what I needed was actual material help. I left her house feeling disgusted, not with her wealth, but with her lack of empathy. She had the means to help significantly and chose not to. Worse, she seemed to think advice was an adequate substitute for action. The contrast was stark. My wealthy friend who could easily help offered a pittance and unsolicited advice. My friends with limited means offered everything they could, including taking on debt and depleting savings. I tested a few coworkers too, casually mentioning my situation. Susan, who I'd worked with for 10 years, "I wish I could help, but with 3 kids in college, I'm tapped out. Have you tried GoFundMe?" Mike, one of the ER doctors, "That sucks, Nadia. Let me know if you need a reference for your next job." But there were surprises too. Jorge, a relatively new nurse who I'd mentored for a few months, offered $300. "It's all I can spare, but you helped me when I was struggling to adjust to the ER. Let me help you now." Even Mohammed from the 7-Eleven, when I casually mentioned having a tough time, without details, slipped an extra $20 into my change. For good luck, he said with a wink. By the end of my test, I had a clear picture of my life. From family, who supposedly loved me unconditionally, $1,700 offered, grudgingly from friends, $8,800 offered, freely and with genuine concern from acquaintances and near strangers, $320 offered, with kindness. The people with the least gave the most. The people who supposedly knew me best cared the least. The people who had the means to help without sacrifice chose not to. The people who had to sacrifice to help chose to anyway. It was both heartbreaking and illuminating. For 3 months, I maintained my facade of struggling. I borrowed the money from Rachel and Tom, money I immediately paid back anonymously through Venmo accounts I created, with notes like, from a friend who wanted to help. They never knew it was me returning their generosity amplified. I turned down my mother's $200 and Jennifer's $500. I told them I'd figured out another solution. I couldn't stomach taking even $1 from people who'd shown me their true priorities. During this time, I watched and listened. My observations revealed patterns I'd never noticed before. My mother called me once a week, always brief calls that stayed surface level. She never asked how I was really doing or if I'd found a new job. I'd told her I had, a lie to end her uncomfortable inquiring. Once, she called to ask if I could help her pay for a new TV. Her old one was acting up. I told her I couldn't, and she was cool to me for weeks after. Jennifer reached out twice, once to invite me to a party she was hosting, I declined, and once to ask if I wanted to go shopping with her, I declined that too. When I mentioned I was still stressed about my situation, she said, "Well, you seem to be managing okay," and changed the subject. David didn't contact me at all for 2 months. When he finally did, it was to brag about a bonus he'd received at work and the new car he'd bought. He made no mention of my crisis or whether I'd recovered from it. Mark, Jennifer's husband, actually called me once to ask if I'd invest in his latest business venture. He needed $10,000 from investors. The irony was so thick I almost laughed in his face. I told him I was in no position to invest in anything. He sounded disappointed and ended the call quickly. Meanwhile, Rachel checked on me constantly. Text messages, calls, coffee dates. "How are you really doing?" she'd ask. "Are you eating enough? Do you need anything?" She brought me homemade meals, offered to help me job hunt, even suggested I could stay with her family if I lost my apartment. Tom did the same. He'd slip gift cards into my work bag, $25 to Trader Joe's, $50 to Target. "Just saw these and thought of you," he'd say, brushing off my protests. He and James invited me to dinner at their place at least twice a week, always making too much food and sending me home with leftovers. Even Lydia, who'd been so disappointing initially, surprised me once. She texted to ask if I needed help updating my resume. When I said I had it handled, she didn't follow up. But at least she'd reached out, which was more than most of my family had done. By September, I'd made my decision. I knew exactly what I needed to do. It was time to reveal the truth. But not to everyone. Not yet. I called Rachel and Tom and invited them to dinner at a nice restaurant downtown, the Purple Pig, a place they'd always wanted to try but considered too expensive. "Nadia, you can't afford this," Rachel protested when we met outside. "Tonight, I can," I said mysteriously. "Trust me." Over appetizers and wine, I told them everything. The lottery ticket. The $47 million. The decision to stay silent. The elaborate test. Their role in it. Rachel's jaw dropped. Tom's eyes went wide. They both stared at me in shock. You won the lottery?" Rachel whispered. $47 million, I confirmed. "Well, 27 after taxes." "And you tested us?" Tom said slowly. "You pretended to be in crisis to see if we'd help." I nodded, suddenly nervous. "I know how it sounds. But I needed to know. I needed to know who really cared about me for me, not for what I could give them." There was a long silence. Rachel and Tom looked at each other, then back at me. Then Rachel started laughing. Not angry laughing, genuine, from the belly laughing. "Oh my God," she said between giggles. "Oh my God. You're a millionaire. A multimillionaire." Tom joined in, shaking his head in disbelief. "This is insane. This is absolutely insane." "Are you angry?" I asked tentatively. "Angry?" Rachel wiped tears from her eyes. "Nadia, I offered you that money because I love you. Whether you have $50 or $50 million doesn't change that. I'm not angry. I'm happy for you. And honestly, I'm kind of impressed. That was one hell of a test." Tom nodded. "Same. I mean, it's a little manipulative, I won't lie. But I get it. Money changes things. You wanted to know who'd stick around. And you both did, I said, my voice thick with emotion. You offered me everything you could, even when it hurt you to do it. You showed me what real friendship looks like. So what happens now? Rachel asked. Are you going to tell your family? Eventually. But first, I want to do something for you too. For being the real deal. I pulled out 2 envelopes and slid them across the table. Rachel opened hers first. Inside was a check for $100,000 and a note, for your kids' college fund, and because you'd give me your last dollar if I needed it. Love, Nadia. Rachel's hands trembled. Nadia, I can't, this is too much. It's not even close to enough, I said. You have no idea what your friendship means to me. Tom opened his envelope, $75,000 and a note, pay off James' student loans and take him on that trip to Italy you've been dreaming about. You deserve the world. Love, Nadia. Tom's eyes filled with tears. Are you serious right now? Dead serious. This money is real. Your friendship is real. And I want you to know that you passed a test you didn't know you were taking with flying colors. We spent the rest of the night talking, laughing, crying, and planning. Rachel and Tom wanted to know everything, how I'd claimed the prize, what my plans were, whether I was going to quit my job. I am quitting, I told them. But I'm going to do it right, give proper notice. Train my replacement. Leave on good terms. What about your family? Tom asked. When are you going to tell them? Soon, I said. But differently than I told you. They failed the test. They showed me who they really are. They deserve to know the truth, but they also deserve to sit with their choices first. 2 weeks later, I called another family meeting. Same people, same apartment, but this time I'd made some changes. I'd started subtly updating my life. A new couch, nice but not extravagant. Fresh paint on the walls. New clothes that actually fit well and looked expensive if you knew what to look for. A new laptop sitting on my coffee table. My car was still the old Honda, but I'd had it detailed and fixed. When my family arrived, I could see them notice the changes. Did you get that new job? My mother asked, looking around. Actually, I got something better, I said. Sit down. All of you. They settled into their seats, looking confused and slightly uncomfortable. I didn't waste time on pleasantries. 3 months ago, I asked you all for help. I told you I'd lost my job, had medical bills, needed a car, was facing financial ruin. I needed $15,000 to get back on my feet. We know, Nadia, David said impatiently. We gave what we could. Did you? I asked. Did you really? Because I want to review what each of you offered. I pulled out a notepad where I'd written everything down. Mom, you offered me $200. Out of the savings account I know for a fact has at least $30,000 in it. My mother's face flushed. That's my safety net. I explained. Jennifer and Mark, you offered $500. While planning a vacation to Cancun that cost, what, $4,000? $5,000? Jennifer looked uncomfortable. Mark crossed his arms defensively. David, you offered $1,000, with strings attached in judgment about my financial responsibility. You, who make 6 figures a year and just bought a car that cost more than I supposedly needed. Where is this going? David demanded. Here's where it's going, I said, my voice steady and cold. None of that was true. I didn't lose my job. I don't have medical debt. My car is fine. I wasn't in crisis. Confusion rippled through the room. Then why did you lie? My mother asked. Because I needed to know who you all really were. I needed to know if you'd be there for me if I had nothing to offer you. That's manipulative, Jennifer said. Is it? Is it more manipulative than offering your struggling sister $500 while you're buying new furniture and booking vacations? Is it more manipulative than telling your daughter she's irresponsible with money while refusing to help her in a crisis? You said it wasn't a real crisis, my mother protested. You didn't know that. As far as you knew, I was facing homelessness and crushing debt. And you all chose your comfort over my survival. So this was a test? David said. You tested your own family? Yes. And you all failed. Spectacularly. This is insane, Mark muttered. You want to know what's insane? I said, reaching into my bag. This. I pulled out the winning lottery ticket, now in a protective case, and placed it on the coffee table. I won the lottery. $47 million. In March. The same month I started having problems. The room went dead silent. I watched their faces as the information processed. My mother's eyes widened. Jennifer's jaw dropped. Mark leaned forward, suddenly very interested. David stared at the ticket, then at me. You're joking, David finally said. I'm not. I won 27 million after taxes. I've had it for 6 months. And for 6 months, I've been testing you all to see who would help me when I needed it. The answer? None of you. Not really. So you've been sitting on millions while making us feel guilty? Jennifer said, her voice rising. I've been observing your character, I corrected. And learning exactly how much your love is worth. Apparently, it's worth $500. Maybe 1,000 if you're feeling generous. This is cruel, my mother said, tears forming in her eyes. Is it? Is it cruel to want to know if my family loves me unconditionally? If they'd sacrifice for me the way I've sacrificed for them? What sacrifices? David scoffed. I lent you $10,000 4 years ago when you lost your job, David. You remember that? I dipped into my retirement savings. I told you there was no rush to pay me back. You never did, by the way. Not 1 cent. David's face paled. Mom, I've helped you pay bills more times than I can count. 500 here, 1,000 there. It adds up. And Jennifer, when you and Mark were having trouble a few years back, who helped with your mortgage payment? Twice? Jennifer looked at the floor. I'm not bringing this up to make you feel guilty about the past. I'm bringing it up to point out the contrast. When you needed help, I gave it freely. When I needed help or when you thought I needed help, you gave excuses. So what now? Mark asked. You're rich and you want us to feel bad? I want you to understand something, I said. I'm going to do a lot of good with this money. I'm going to help people who genuinely need it. I'm going to support causes I believe in. But I'm not going to be a bank for family members who only value me when I have something to give. Are you saying you're not going to help us? My mother asked, her voice small. I'm saying that if you need genuine help in the future, come to me with honesty and humility, not entitlement and judgment. What I choose to do with my money is my decision. But don't expect handouts. Expect the same level of consideration you showed me. That's cold, Jennifer said. No, I replied. What's cold is telling your sister you can't help her because you need to go on vacation. What's cold is lecturing someone about financial responsibility while refusing to help them. What's cold is protecting your safety net while your daughter is supposedly drowning. The room was thick with tension. My mother was crying quietly. Jennifer looked angry and defensive. Mark looked like he wanted to argue but knew he had no ground to stand on. David looked stunned and, for the first time, a little ashamed. I think you should all go, I said. Think about what I've told you. Think about your choices. And when you're ready to have an honest conversation about what family means, we can talk. They left, one by one. My mother tried to hug me, but it was awkward and brief. Jennifer and Mark practically stormed out. David paused at the door. For what it's worth, he said quietly, I'm sorry. You're right. I should have helped more. It was something. Not enough, but something. When they were gone, I sat on my new couch and felt a mix of satisfaction and sadness. I'd gotten my answers. I'd made my point. But I'd also potentially damaged relationships that could never be fully repaired. Was it worth it? Yes. Absolutely yes. Because now I knew the truth. And the truth, however painful, is always better than a comfortable lie. The next few weeks were difficult. My family's reactions to my revelation varied wildly, and I watched as the truth of their characters continued to unfold. My mother called 3 days after our confrontation. She was crying. Nadia, I've been thinking about what you said. And you're right. I chose my security over your needs. I was so worried about protecting myself that I forgot to protect my daughter. I appreciate you saying that, Mom. But I need you to understand something too. When your father left, when I was suddenly alone with 3 kids, nobody helped me. Not my family, not friends. I learned that the only person you can rely on is yourself. That's why I protect my savings so fiercely. For the first time, I considered my mother's perspective. She'd been abandoned and learned to survive by being selfish. It didn't excuse her behavior, but it explained it. I get that, Mom. But you did to me what was done to you. You left me to face my crisis alone because you were protecting yourself. That's the cycle I'm trying to break. I know. And I'm sorry. Truly sorry. She paused. I don't expect anything from you, Nadia. I don't expect money or help. I just want my daughter back. That conversation was the beginning of a slow healing process with my mother. It wasn't perfect, and there would be setbacks, but it was honest in a way our relationship never had been before. Jennifer's response was different. She sent me a long, angry text message. What you did was manipulative and cruel. You played with our emotions to make yourself feel superior. Yes, maybe we could have helped more, but you lied to us. You made us believe you were suffering when you weren't. That's sick. Don't contact me until you're ready to apologize." I didn't apologize. Because I wasn't sorry. She was angry that she'd been exposed, not sorry for what she'd been exposed for. Mark, predictably, texted me a few days later with a business opportunity he wanted to discuss. I blocked his number. David's response was the most thoughtful. He called and asked to meet for coffee. When we sat down at Starbucks, he looked tired. "I've been doing a lot of thinking," he said. "About what you said. About the money I never paid back, about my response to your crisis. And I realized something. I'm a hypocrite." "How so?" "I pride myself on being successful, on being smart with money. But when it came to helping my sister, I judged you instead of supporting you. I told myself I was being practical, that tough love was what you needed. But really, I just didn't want to be inconvenienced." This was big for David. He wasn't someone who admitted fault easily. "I'm not saying this to get access to your money," he continued. "I know I have no right to ask for anything. I'm saying it because you deserve to hear it. I failed you. And I'm sorry." "Thank you," I said. "That means something. Can I ask you something?" "Sure." "What made you want to test us? I mean, what made you think we'd fail?" I considered the question. Honestly? Years of small disappointments. Little moments where I needed emotional support or practical help and got excuses instead. The lottery just gave me the resources to do a bigger test. But the doubts were always there. David nodded slowly. "I hate that we confirmed your doubts." "Me too," I admitted. Over time, David and I rebuilt our relationship. It was different now, more honest, less assuming. He didn't ask me for money, even when I knew he was having cash flow issues. He'd learned that lesson. During this period, I also heard from extended family, cousins, aunts, uncles I hadn't spoken to in years. Somehow word had gotten out about my lottery win. I suspected Jennifer and Mark, and suddenly I was popular. The calls and messages were predictable. "Hey Nadia. Long time no talk. We should catch up. Nadia, I heard about your good fortune. I have an investment opportunity I'd love to discuss. Cousin Nadia. Remember me? I could really use some help with." I ignored most of them. The ones I did respond to, I was politely vague. "Thanks for reaching out. I'm keeping my financial situation private. Hope you're well." But there were some surprises. My Aunt Linda, my mother's sister, called with a different message. "Nadia, I heard you came into some money. I want you to know I'm not calling to ask for anything. I just wanted to say I'm proud of you. Your mother told me about the test you ran. She's hurt, but I think I understand why you did it. Money shows people's true colors. Just be careful, sweetheart. And don't let it change who you are." Aunt Linda had always been my favorite relative. Her message reminded me that there were good people in my family, even if they weren't in my immediate circle. Meanwhile, my friendship with Rachel and Tom deepened. They were the only people outside my lawyer and financial advisor who knew the full truth, and they protected my privacy fiercely. Rachel used part of the money I gave her to start a college fund for her kids. But she also did something unexpected. She donated $10,000 to the hospital's charity fund in my name. "You inspired me," she said. "If I can help even a little bit the way you helped me, I should." Tom and James paid off their debt and did take that trip to Italy. They sent me postcards and photos, and their joy was palpable. Tom told me later that it was the first time in years they'd been able to just enjoy life without worrying about money. "That's what I wanted," I told him. "I wanted the people who truly care about me to be happy." 6 months after my revelation to my family, I made several major life changes. First, I officially quit my job at St. Mary's. I gave 3 months' notice, far more than required, and spent that time training my replacement and making sure the transition would be smooth. On my last day, the staff threw me a goodbye party. They'd heard I'd come into some money, I'd kept it vague, and there were jokes about me being too fancy for them now. "Never," I said in my goodbye speech. "This job, this hospital, all of you shaped who I am. I'm not leaving because I don't love nursing. I'm leaving because I have an opportunity to help people in a different way." The head of the ER, Dr. Patricia Walsh, pulled me aside before I left. "Nadia, in 20 years of running this department, you're one of the best nurses I've ever worked with. Whatever you do next, those people are lucky to have you." That meant more to me than any amount of money. Second, I moved out of my small apartment and bought a house. Not a mansion. I didn't want ostentatious wealth, but a comfortable, beautiful 3-bedroom house in Oak Park, a nice neighborhood with tree-lined streets and a real sense of community. The house became a sanctuary. I decorated it carefully, with art from local artists, comfortable furniture, and a garden that I started learning to maintain. For the first time in my adult life, I had space. Room to breathe. Room to think. Room to grow. Third, I started a foundation. The Nadia M. Foundation for Healthcare Workers. Its mission: to provide financial assistance to nurses, doctors, and other healthcare workers facing unexpected financial crises. I'd been there. I knew what it was like to work your heart out taking care of others while struggling to take care of yourself. With my foundation, healthcare workers could apply for grants for things like medical bills, car repairs, childcare assistance, and emergency housing. I started with a $5 million endowment. Sarah Chen, my financial advisor, helped me structure it so the foundation would be sustainable long-term, with the principal generating income while allowing us to distribute hundreds of thousands in grants each year. The foundation also offered interest-free loans for healthcare workers wanting to go back to school or relocate for better opportunities. Running the foundation became my new job, my new purpose. And it was more fulfilling than I'd ever imagined. Fourth, I started reconnecting with myself. For so many years, I'd been defined by my work, by my role as the reliable one, the helper, the nurse. Now I had time and resources to figure out who Nadia actually was. I took an oil painting class and discovered I had a knack for landscapes. I started learning Italian because I'd always wanted to visit Italy. I joined a gym and hired a personal trainer, not to transform my body but to get stronger and healthier. I began therapy. Yes, even with all my newfound wealth and freedom, I needed help processing everything: the complicated family dynamics, the revelations about people I'd trusted, the guilt I sometimes felt about having so much while others had so little. My therapist, Dr. Melanie Rodriguez, helped me understand that the test I'd run on my family, while unconventional, came from a place of deep hurt and reasonable skepticism. You had evidence that your family might not show up for you, she said. The test gave you confirmation. That's not manipulation, that's due diligence. She also helped me work through my complex feelings about money. You feel guilty for having it, she observed. Why? Because I didn't earn it. It was random luck. I bought a lottery ticket, and random numbers came up. Why should I have millions while nurses I worked with are struggling? Random luck gave you the money, Dr. Rodriguez said. But what you choose to do with it, that's not luck. That's character. You're using this gift to help others, to build something meaningful. Don't diminish that. Her words helped. But the guilt never fully went away. Maybe it shouldn't. During this time, my relationship with my family evolved. My mother and I had Sunday dinners together about once a month. They were sometimes awkward but always honest. We talked about hard things, her fears, my hurt, our shared past. I wish I'd been a better mother, she told me one evening over lasagna I'd made. You were the mother you could be with what you had, I replied. We're all just doing our best with our own damage. David and I talked regularly now. He'd started therapy too, working through issues around money, status, and self-worth. He confessed that he'd tied so much of his identity to financial success that he'd become a person he didn't like. I judged you for not having savings, he said. But I have savings and I'm miserable. What does that say about me? It says money isn't everything, which you're starting to understand. I helped David in one significant way. When his company was downsizing and he was at risk of losing his job, I quietly paid for him to take an advanced certification course that made him invaluable to his employer. He didn't know it was me at the time. I funneled it through an anonymous scholarship. When I eventually told him, he cried. You helped me even after everything? You're my brother. And you were trying to change. That matters. Jennifer and I remained estranged for nearly a year. We saw each other at family gatherings but barely spoke. Mark had tried to reach out to me several times with various opportunities, each more transparent than the last. I'd blocked him completely. Then, about 14 months after my revelation, Jennifer called. I need to tell you something, she said without preamble. Okay. I'm leaving Mark. I was stunned. What? I'm filing for divorce. I've been unhappy for years, but your test made me see things clearly. When you needed help, his first thought was what we'd miss out on if we helped you. When you turned out to be wealthy, his first thought was what he could get from you. Every decision he makes is about money and status, and I'm tired of it. Jenny, I'm so sorry. Don't be. You did me a favor, actually. You held up a mirror, and I didn't like what I saw. Not just Mark, me too. I'd been so focused on keeping up appearances, on having the right house and the right car and the right clothes. I forgot to care about the right things. What can I do to help? There was a pause. Then, could we just talk? Like we used to? I don't want money. I don't want anything except maybe to get to know my sister again. We met for lunch the following week. Jennifer looked different, less made up, less perfectly styled, more real. We talked for 3 hours. She told me about her failing marriage, her realization that she'd been living a life that looked good on Instagram but felt empty in reality. She apologized for her response to my crisis, even knowing it was fake. The point is, I thought it was real and I still chose a vacation over you. That's indefensible. It's not indefensible. It's human. We all make selfish choices sometimes. But you didn't. When David needed help, when I needed help, you showed up. I want to be that person too. I helped Jennifer, but not with money. I helped her find a good divorce lawyer, not through my connections, but by doing research and making recommendations. I let her stay in my guest room for 2 weeks when she needed space from Mark. I listened when she needed to vent. And slowly, carefully, we rebuilt our sisterhood. It would never be what it was before, too much had happened, but it became something more honest and more valuable. One of the most unexpected consequences of my lottery win and subsequent test was how it affected the people in my orbit beyond my immediate family and friends. Muhammad from the 7-Eleven was one of the first people I wanted to acknowledge. For 10 years, he'd been part of my weekly ritual, always friendly, always genuine. He'd slipped me that $20 when he thought I was struggling. I went back to his store one Tuesday morning, mimicking my old routine. The usual, Nadia, he asked with his customary warm smile. Not today, I said. Today I have something for you. I handed him an envelope. He looked confused. What's this? Open it. Inside was a check for $50,000 and a note. For 10 years of kindness and for the $20 you gave a struggling friend. You made my mornings brighter. Thank you for being genuinely good. Nadia. Muhammad's hands shook as he read it. His eyes welled up. I can't. Nadia, this is too much. It's not nearly enough for what your friendship has meant to me. But it's a start. Muhammad used part of that money to bring his parents over from Pakistan to visit for the first time in 8 years. He sent me photos of their reunion at O'Hare Airport, 3 generations crying and hugging. He used the rest to renovate his store and hire another employee so he could actually take days off. You changed my life, he told me later. You changed mine first, I replied. You just didn't know it. Jorge, the nurse I'd mentored who offered me $300 during my fake crisis, was another person I wanted to honor. I learned through casual conversation that he was struggling with student loans from nursing school. I paid them off. All $48,000. Anonymously, through the loan servicer. He found out when he received a letter saying his balance was 0. He called me, suspicious. Did you do this? I don't know what you're talking about. Nadia. Jorge, you offered me money when you barely had any to spare. You did it because you're a good person. Good people deserve good things. Let this be one of them. He was quiet for a long time. Then, thank you. I don't know what else to say except thank you. Pay it forward when you can. That's all I ask. I did similar things for other people who'd shown kindness during my test. Susan, the coworker who'd at least been honest about her limitations, received an anonymous donation to her kids' college funds, $15,000 to each of her 3 children. Lydia, my wealthy friend who'd disappointed me, I didn't help financially. But I did have an honest conversation with her about empathy and what true friendship means. To her credit, she listened. She's been different since, more aware, more present, more generous with more than just advice. But perhaps the most meaningful impact was on people I'd never met. The Nadia M. Foundation for Healthcare Workers started distributing grants 6 months after I established it. The applications we received were heartbreaking and inspiring in equal measure. A single father working as an EMT whose car had been totaled and who couldn't afford to replace it. He couldn't work without transportation. We gave him $8,000 for a reliable used car. An ER nurse whose husband had been diagnosed with cancer. The medical bills were crushing them despite their insurance. We gave her $15,000 to help with costs. A medical resident who'd fled an abusive relationship and needed to relocate but didn't have first month's rent and deposit. We gave her $3,000. Every grant we gave felt like redemption for the system that had failed these people, and for my own privilege in having this wealth to give. One woman, a nurse named Patricia who received a $10,000 grant to cover childcare while she completed a specialized certification, wrote me a letter. "You don't know me, and I don't know you, but your foundation saved me. I was about to drop out of my program because I couldn't afford daycare for my 2 kids. Your grant meant I could finish. I got the certification, got a better job, and my kids have a more secure future. You didn't just help me, you helped my children and my children's children. Thank you doesn't cover it, but thank you." I cried reading that letter. This was what the money was for. This was the meaning I'd been searching for. The foundation also started a scholarship program for people from underprivileged backgrounds who wanted to enter healthcare. Full rides, tuition, books, living expenses for 10 students a year. The first cohort of scholarship recipients included a former homeless teen who wanted to be a doctor, a single mother going to nursing school, and an immigrant whose previous medical credentials weren't recognized in the US but who was willing to start over. At our first scholarship ceremony, watching those 10 students receive their awards, I felt something I hadn't felt in the immediate aftermath of winning the lottery: pure, uncomplicated joy. This was what money was supposed to do. Not divide families or corrupt relationships, but create opportunity, relieve suffering, and spread hope. About 18 months after winning the lottery, something else unexpected happened. I started dating again. I hadn't been on a date in 3 years before winning. Work, exhaustion, and general relationship pessimism had kept me single. After winning, dating was even more complicated. How do you meet someone when you're keeping a massive secret? His name was Marcus. We met at an art gallery opening. I'd started attending cultural events as part of my new life. He was there with his sister, an artist whose work was being featured. Marcus was a high school history teacher, 45 years old, recently divorced, with 2 teenage kids. He was handsome in an understated way, kind eyes, a warm smile, graying temples that somehow made him more attractive. We struck up a conversation about one of the paintings, and I was immediately struck by how easy it was to talk to him. No pretension, no agenda, just genuine interest in the art and in conversation. He asked for my number. I gave it to him. Our first date was coffee on a Saturday afternoon. Simple, low-key. He told me about his kids, a 16-year-old daughter named Sophie and a 14-year-old son named Ethan. He was clearly devoted to them. "What do you do?" he asked. I'd prepared for this question. I recently left nursing to run a nonprofit foundation. We help healthcare workers facing financial difficulties. That's amazing. What made you want to do that? I was a nurse for 18 years. I saw a lot of good people struggling. When I got the opportunity to help, I took it. I wasn't lying, exactly. Just omitting key details. We went on more dates. Movies, dinners, long walks along the lakefront. Marcus was thoughtful, intelligent, funny. He talked about his students with genuine affection. He listened when I spoke. He remembered details from previous conversations. But I was holding back a huge part of my life, and it felt dishonest. After 3 months of dating, I knew I had to tell him the truth. We were getting serious, and I couldn't build a relationship on a foundation of omission. I invited him to my house for dinner. He'd been there before, but this time I wanted to have an important conversation. Over dessert, I took a breath and said, "Marcus, there's something I need to tell you about myself. Something big." He looked concerned. "Are you okay?" "I'm fine. It's not bad news, exactly. It's just complicated." I told him everything. The lottery ticket, the $47 million, the decision to stay silent, the test I'd run on my family and friends, the foundation, all of it. Marcus listened without interrupting. When I finished, he was quiet for a long time. "So you're a multimillionaire," he finally said. "Yes. And you've been pretending to be, what, normal?" "I am normal. The money doesn't change who I am." "But it does," he said gently. "It has to. That's not a criticism, it's just reality. You have resources and options that most people can't imagine. Does it change how you see me?" Marcus thought about that. "Honestly? A little. But not in the way you might think. I'm not interested in your money. I have a decent salary and a pension. I'm okay financially. But it explains some things. The house, the way you can just take time off to do foundation work.